Jesse, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me in your house.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Of course, thanks for coming.
I told you off camera, but I was a big PvP.
Oh,
right?
PvP.
I used to watch the vlogs, the pranks. You know, I'm super excited about this. I feel like a lot of my audience that grew up also watched you when they were even younger.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
probably.
So,
What year did you get on YouTube?
our like prime YouTube was like 2013 to like 2016.
Oh yeah, I was in the hot spot.
Yeah.
That
You guys
year.
were like the top YouTube channels at the
around
time.
that
You had
time.
both of them. Yeah. What were you top?
Prank vs. Prank and BF vs.
Were you
GF.
1 and 2 at a certain point?
Yeah, there was at one point. I can't remember what year, but I just remember like for a good 4-month span, Prank vs. Prank was #1 most viewed channel, and #2 most viewed channel was BF vs. GF. So we took the #1-2 spot for like 4 months.
It's so crazy. You guys
did
running
that.
YouTube. No, 100% legend. Literally legend in the industry. I was lucky to film with Roman too. So these are like some of my favorite episodes because I go back to even when I was a younger kid. A lot of people, you were just telling me how you were comparing it to like us watching TV when we were younger. You were watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
People were watching your vlogs. Like that was their TV.
Right. That's what I'm starting to realize is like I grew up watching Will Smith and like Martin. That was a big show I used to love watching, Martin Lawrence. And, you know, like I don't watch Martin anymore, but like he's like a big part of who I became because I was inspired by him. So now when I meet some of these PV peeps on the street that are 30, 20, upper 20s, they're like, yo, holy shit, Jesse. And I'm just like kind of freaked out. I'm like, I don't get it. But now I'm like, oh, look, they grew up watching me. So it's just like, they don't watch my YouTube anymore, but I'm part of their life.
You probably don't want to give yourself credit, but then you realize like whether you want to admit it or not, you were literally their TV.
Yeah. Weird. So weird to think that.
It is. So you just told me you're 42 now.
42.
So I mean, you must have gotten started when you were pretty like okay. Myself, I started YouTube at 14, so it's like all I've owned in my life. It's like half my life this year.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Oh, you're a child. That's when I started YouTube.
So that's when you started YouTube.
No. I started when I was. I actually started when I was in the military actually still, and I was like 24, 25 when I posted that first video of Jen is her real name. I don't know if you knew that. Her real name's actually Jen.
Yeah, actually, I called her Gina to you, and I realized you corrected. I'm still gonna call her.
No.
The child in me needs to call you Jesse and Gina. So
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. She wanted that. She didn't want anyone to know her name back then. But I dared her to eat cinnamon that first time in 2008. We were the first person to have a cinnamon challenge video go viral, and then everyone did that after. And I was 25.
Wow, I'm sure that we're gonna come across a lot of firsts. That I didn't even know that. Your cinnamon challenge, your first person to do the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah, that was our first video. That was the first cinnamon challenge, and we didn't even know what it was. I just dared her to eat cinnamon. I didn't even put it on YouTube. I put it on this website called break.com back in the day before YouTube was doing stuff. It went on their homepage and they paid me $200.
Wow.
And I was like,
wow,
$200 for that dumb video? Then everyone for years started eating cinnamon, but like I made $200 from that.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. There's a lot right there. That I didn't. Break.com. You just brought a memory back in my brain that I don't even remember was there. Break.com is so far back. So before you were 24, 25 making content, I want to go back to childhood. Can you just give us a little background? I like to ask everyone kind of where you grew up, what your life was like at home, your family. A lot of people have misconceptions about YouTubers that they always come from some wealthy family or this and that. What was your childhood like?
My childhood wasn't rough. It wasn't rough. I was born in Philly. We lived in Philadelphia on Tarsdale Avenue in Tacony, which it's really bad now there in that neighborhood. Actually, that's where that plane just crashed. You see that plane that crashed on Cottman Avenue? That was like 4 blocks from where I grew up.
Wow.
Which is weird. My parents owned a woman's lingerie clothing store. We used to live above it.
Okay.
On Tarsdale Avenue. And then in grade school, we moved over the bridge to New Jersey, and they still own the store in Philadelphia. And I grew up in South Jersey in this place called Riverton, which is right next to Camden. I don't know if you're familiar with
Camden. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, Camden sucks, but we were like 2 neighborhoods over from Camden. So it was an okay neighborhood. And my life was pretty chill. I was like a very troubled kid. I always got in trouble for pranks.
Really?
I was always like the class clown. I was always getting kicked out of classes because I was always pranking the teachers thought I was pranking them. And then, come high school, I used to sell weed in my freshman year. And I used to because I was from Philly, but I lived in Jersey. So I had the balls to go to the hood and buy weed and then bring it back to Jersey and sell it to all the kids in the burbs.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, I don't think the internet knows anything.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever heard that. Interesting.
And I was selling weed at 15 years old. And I think my high school kind of knew, but they couldn't catch me.
Okay.
And on top of that, I was really bad in high school. So after my freshman year in high school, they kicked me out. They're like, you can't come back to this high school. And they sent me to a bad kids high school.
Freshman year.
So my sophomore year, was that after freshman, sophomore?
You were like 14 at the time.
I was like 15. And then so when I was 16, I went to an alternative high school. And I was just like really pissed because I just wanted to be with all my friends from my neighborhood. So I was just really bad in that school because I was just lashing out. And I did that up until my senior year. They kicked me out of that school at senior year because I think I broke into the gym teacher's locker in his office and just like took something out I wanted to use in gym, and they just, that's enough. And they kicked me out and they said, you got to go back to your regular high school for the rest of your senior year. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
I went back to my regular high school, perfect student, and graduated.
Wow. I've never heard of night school.
Yeah, I went to bad kid night school.
That's
Usually
crazy.
you go to night school, but I went to bad kid night school. It was bad. It was horrible. I hated it. And then, you know, after high school, I graduated fine. And then I was like working at like this car dealership as like a lot boy. And after the summer, my dad's like, get out. You know, you're about to turn 19. You're not going to college. What are you gonna do with your life? I was like, I don't know. I want to work in your store. Like, he had a clothing. She's like, you're not working at my store.
Really?
Figure it out. I was like, I'll just join the military. So I joined the Air Force.
Wow. So is it something that you just had no interest in school, or?
Yeah, no interest in school. I had no discipline.
Okay.
And I had no drive. I would say I wasn't the sharpest. I had a lot of street smarts, but I wasn't like educated or even set up for success with my life. Like no mentors or anything. You know, my dad was tough on me. He made me earn everything, which was good. It made me, you know, appreciate and not take advantage of my dad. Like, he was telling me to get out of the house. I was like, okay, I gotta leave. Like, I'm gonna join the service. I have no other choice. And joining the service was the best choice I could have made because I really needed discipline. So I joined the military and I became a cop in the Air Force. And they definitely shoved the boot straight up my and gave me some damn discipline that I needed.
Yeah.
And you know, I was a great soldier. I got stationed all over the world. I was in Louisiana, my first base. I was 20 years old. I got married at 20. I don't know if you know that.
I mean, I feel like I've heard
maybe in the vlogs.
I've heard,
back in the day.
That's insane. At 20 years old in the military.
I met a girl from New Orleans. She was Cajun, and somehow I ended up getting married. I always said she put a voodoo spell on me. And then I got orders to Germany. We got divorced.
Like, how quick was that?
The marriage and divorce?
Yeah.
It was not even a half a year.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I was just doing crazy.
20 years old.
Yeah, and then I went to, you know, Germany afterwards, and I was stationed there. And then I got forward deployed to Kuwait during the Iraqi war. So I was in Kuwait, and then
it's very interesting. I mean, you've already had a very like action-packed early teens and early adulthood. I knew some of this. I didn't know others. So from selling weed to being in the military to being married, and all within a few years. That's crazy.
Yeah. Then I went to, where did I go after Germany? Korea. I was stationed in Korea for a year.